North Dakota. This is a Scribe's Journey with your host, Richard Polinelli.
And before we introduce our guest, who has been on my podcast in the past, I'm going to explain something. You're noticing I'm not talking like I have in the past. That's because I have 5 teeth that no longer exist on the upper row. Had a dental procedure that went haywire. And until everything heals, they can't put the implants in. So there you go. So if you look and you see a big black void, no, I am not a vampire. It's just one of those things you got to deal with when you get old and your teeth decide they want to leave. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get to our guest who, like I said, was on my podcast back when it was Scribe's Journey. She is the Interstellar Woman of Mystery. I think the last time I had her on, I botched that. So I think I got that one right. Her name is Stephanie Osborn. She is a NASA scientist who I lean on heavily when I need to science my stories, and she has been very kind to put up with some of my crazy questions and come up with a logical answer that I guess works because nobody's ever called me on my science. She has written several series, and we're going to talk to her about that. But first, let's welcome Stephanie Osborn. Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel you on the tooth situation because back in January, I took the second of my shingles vaccinations, reacted really, really bad both times, ran such a high fever that drinking room temperature water shattered one of my front teeth. I mean, and so I've got a gap right there. I'm getting ready to have an implant put in.
Yeah.
So, but I've got a temporary partial plate in there, and I can't talk for spit.
Yeah. They gave me a partial, and every time you put it in, when it doesn't rip open the area that's of concern, you can't. It sounds like I'm having a stroke when I talk. And not only that, at some point, my tongue hits the thing and flips it out, so it drops down. And so, try to do a podcast which is visual when you're like trying to catch your teeth as they fall out. So I'm going without until we get the implants in, and I will apologize profusely if some words come out and you have no clue what I'm saying. So just bear with me. So let's get away from the dental stuff because that's bringing up bad memories right now. You've been busy this year. You've got a couple of new books that have been out in your Division 1 series, and then the Empire series that you're doing with Richard Wayne. Why don't you tell us about those books?
Well, my Division 1 series, that's my take on the urban legend of Men in Black and UFOs and all that kind of stuff. I had a great good time in world building, watching that Ancient Aliens show on the History Channel. I pulled every trope from that thing. I mean, every urban legend that I could grab hold of.
Yeah,
I did, and I threw it into the books. So book 13, Bygones, just came out the first of the year. And so it's about, I've got 2 main characters, and they are partners in the Division 1. Division 1 is basically a galactic precinct. And the concept there is that there is a galactic civilization, and the agents, the Men in Black, are part of the police force for the galactic government. And so my 2 main characters are Echo and Omega, and they develop Echo is male, Omega is female. They develop a relationship over time, and so Bygones sees one of Echo's old girlfriends show back up, and she's not from around here. If you get what I'm saying. In fact, she's a Kochavi, and Kochavi are known as the sex pots of the universe. So Echo got hold of a really good girlfriend there. But now she wants him back. And she was
Okay.
the one to break up with him in the first place. And now she wants him back. And he's like, nuh-uh. And Omega is like, nuh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you find out that there's more going on there than meets the eye, because there's something behind it. And it's just possible that she might be being blackmailed. So
Okay.
this is, you know, setting that up for you, then hijinks ensue. So
That's a good time to have hijinks ensuing too, I think.
yes. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. The next book in the series, we're about to finish up. I actually pulled in a protege, Anthony Thompson. He's not been published before. I think that's going to change real soon. I think he's an excellent writer.
Good.
I'm still trying, because he's new. I'm still trying to convince him of this. But he's
Yeah.
really, really good, and he had the idea for the next book in the series.
There
He
you go.
originally wanted to write it as a fanfic, and I'm like, no, that's too good an idea. This goes in the series. Want a co-author? And he said,
Mhm.
okay. And so it's called The Bounty Game.
Okay.
And in it, we wind up with some, they're aliens, but they are literally not from our universe. They cross over from an alternate reality. And so things that we think should work with them don't. And things that they think should work on us don't. And it turns out that two of the entities of the three that cross over are bounty hunters. So you can guess what the third entity is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that one should come out. I'm hoping that one will come out by the end of the summer, early fall at the latest. So we're actually in the process of writing the great, big, humongous, climactic battle.
There you go.
So,
well, you know, if you were recommending him as an author, then I think that's a pretty fair estimate to say he's got a future ahead of him. You know,
so.
Yeah. I mean, I've read your stuff. I've seen what your resume is. You know, but with any first-time author, confidence is kind of the thing. So once he builds up his confidence and he's got that endorsement from you, he's going to be fine. Now the next series is Empire, and I'm actually part of the Empire series in that Rich Wayan put me in as a intergalactic assassin, and I go, okay, have fun with it. But then it turns out the assassin misses his target, shoots somebody else, and then immediately gets caught. And I'm like, Rich, come on, man. I'm Italian. Make it harder for them to catch me at least, you know? So I'm in the Empire series that way. I got redshirted there. But tell us a little bit about your entry into it. You're kind of co-writing with him a little bit, and you've got a book that you're writing by yourself in the series, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
This is not a case of we're co-authoring books.
Mm-hmm.
We are each independently writing novels in the series.
Okay.
The Empire series is written in trilogies. So if you read one trilogy, you get a resolution. There's resolutions at the ends of each of the books, but the overall story arc continues. And so he wrote books 1 through 6, and then he realized, you know what, this really kind of needs some other stuff over here, because there's detective work and stuff that goes on through all this. And he says, I don't write detective fiction. He thinks he doesn't, but he does. He does a pretty good job of it. But anyway, he wanted some of the events in the series, which includes several assassinations and assassination attempts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted the perspective of the investigators on that. And I tend to write science fiction mysteries. So he said, Steph, would you mind stepping in and writing that part of it? I said, sure, no problem. I read up on his stuff. I love the series.
Hmm.
And by the time I was done reading it over and over and over, I know it almost as well as he does. And he's told me so.
Yeah.
But so I sat down and started writing the investigations process. I introduced a couple of characters of my own, uh, grabbed his characters and ran with them, took the situations he'd already set up and worked with those. So my first trilogy, which is known as the Imperial Police trilogy, parallel his first two trilogies.
Hmm.
And I've just started my second trilogy in the series, which is going to be the Section 6 trilogy.
Okay.
Uh, the series covers the the Centauran Empire, its rulers and its people, and they get into there's several star nations, but of those star nations, there's two really big gorillas in the room: the Centauran Empire and the Democracy of Planets, which is not so much a democracy as it is a plutocracy.
Okay.
Um, and so, being a plutocracy, the 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 real powers behind the government are interested in monopolizing trade with the smaller star nations. And so they start trying to foment problems between those star nations and the Centauran Empire. And you wind up with interstellar wars, several interstellar wars. Like I said, there were several assassination attempts, and all this kind of stuff. So I pick up with those assassination attempts, which are against the Centauran Empress and some of her high level staffers.
Right.
Some of them succeed, and so I create some police investigators that are involved in the investigation. And so that's the first series. And then my main character gets tapped. By the time the war is over, you have an emperor on the throne.
Okay.
And my main character gets tapped by the emperor to create a new Black Ops investigative branch known
Okay.
as Section 6. And so I just finished Section 6, and which is the first book of the Section 6 trilogy, and it was released last month.
Okay.
So, and I've been told that it's of my books in that series, it's the best so far. So I'm very pleased about that. So.
Well, I would be too if somebody threw that at me. You saying that Richard invited you into his sandbox, basically into his Empire sandbox, and we're starting to see that happen more and more. I'm thinking of John C. Wright, who just created the StarQuest universe, and immediately before he even got his 4 books that he's going to release, and those aren't coming out to the end of the year, he opened it up to authors like myself, and then there's 2 other authors I know, to come in and to take some part of that he's created and kind of get up in a little corner of the sandbox and see what you can do with it. I'm hoping this is a trend, because I think this opens things up not only for the readers, but for the person who originated the universe, because you bring in these different perspectives and it gives you, these ideas to play with.
It does. And I think a lot of that started with the 1632 series.
Yeah.
Because that is one huge, big universe there. And I've been invited to participate in it, and I want to. It's just that it's almost too big. I don't know. There's so much I have to learn and research and read, and just kind of like I would spend a year or two just reading before I ever got a chance to write, and
Yeah.
I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Several of the authors there really want me to write in that universe, and I probably will eventually.
Yeah. Well, it took me 2 months to go through what John sent, and this was like a 100-page Bible before I was ready to say, okay, I think I can put together what I have in mind, not violate anything he's got established. And so I sent when I got done with my first draft, I sent it in to his wife because she's kind of StarQuest Central. And I think there was one little thing we had to change. And I'm like, yeah, thank goodness there's only one thing. It was like one paragraph. And I had to take a reference out because it would violate something that was coming down the line. No problem. Goodbye. I don't need that anyway, And it's I'm hoping we'll see more of this from other authors, because it's different from like the Star Trek novels of the 80s and 90s, because nobody really had a set thing that you had to do and to stay within, and guidelines and whatnot. Star Trek books back then, they were all over the place. With what you and Richard are doing, what John and I and the others are doing, we have we have room to create, but at the same time, we also have boundaries we have to stay in. And I think that makes for better stories.
I think so too. I think that, and it's also it's a fun thing for an established author, but it's also a good way for a beginning author to get a real foothold.
Yeah.
I've done that sort of thing a couple of times now. I've done it with I've got a short story in one of the Four Horsemen universe anthologies, and Mike Williamson came to me recently about co-authoring a short story for one of the Black Tide Rising anthologies, and he's wanting me to write a short story in an anthology in his Freehold universe,
right.
And stuff like that. So I have a lot of fun with it. It gives me a chance. I don't know about you, but I find that I stay so busy writing and researching what I write that I don't actually read for pleasure as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do too?
Well, see, I have to read a book a week for the radio show, The Writer's Block. So that's kind of my read, but that's not reading for pleasure, because sometimes I get a book and I'm like one chapter in going, if I were reading for pleasure, this book would be set aside. I would not read the rest of the way. So I'm trying to remember.
It, right?
Yeah. But with the writer's block, we read the entire book so we can discuss the book with the author when they're on the show. So that's different from reading for pleasure. I can't think when the last time I sat down and just read something I wanted to read for pleasure. Yeah. Because I've been so busy, like writing, researching, I'm co-hosting a radio show. I'm doing my own podcast. I barely have time to sleep.
I understand really well. I do a lot of science fiction conventions, and so I'm every year I write I put together at least one new presentation to give at science fiction conventions, and not infrequently I go back and I update older presentations to make, because a lot of those are science, and I make sure that I've got the latest and greatest information in there. If a new paper comes out that adds to the discussion, I go and I stick it in the appropriate presentation. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing in addition to, plus some of my books, I'm a hybrid author. So some of my books are traditionally published and some of them are self-published. And so there's a lot of stuff involved, marketing and promotion and editing and design work and formatting.
But even being traditionally published, you still have to do a lot of marketing and some of the things, not as much, because you do have a little bit of help from the traditional publisher. But I've had people tell me that there's like I would just rather be a traditional publisher, traditionally published author, and then I don't have to do all this extra work. And I keep telling them, oh no, honey, you do.
Yeah.
You do. Unless your name is James Patterson or J.K. Rowling, you're going to be out there and you're going to be hustling and
or
doing
Larry Correa
yeah.
or
Yeah, Larry just throws a book out there and knows it's an automatic 500,000 copy seller. So, you know, but he's put in the work to get there, and that's the thing. It takes a long time to get there. So, yeah, don't people who think, oh, this is easy. No.
And people that think, oh, all writers are rich. No, don't like that.
I wish we were.
Yeah. This year, I'm pleased to say this year, if my sales continue at the rate they have since the first of the year, I'm going to be making a living, a decent wage at this writing and editing gig.
And how many years have you been doing it?
I had my first book contract in 2008.
Okay, so 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I if you want to start the clock from when my first book was traditionally published, that was 2015. So I've been doing it 6, and I'm not there yet either. So yeah, it takes a long time to get to where you can say, I don't need a day job anymore.
And it does. And basically, I'm retired from the day job. So
yeah,
there is that. But it's frustrating. It can be disappointing. I think one of the best things I've done is to do that series, the Empire series with Rich, because our fan base up until that point didn't overlap, and now they do, and so my fan base has enriched his, and his has enriched mine.
Yeah,
well, and that's been a big help.
Yeah, that's the other advantage to doing these. I mean, I'm pretty sure once John puts his books out and his fan base discovers the whole Star Quest thing, they're going to start seeing what I've been doing. I'm hoping to have my second and third book out before he gets his first one out. I'm working on it. We'll see if I can beat him. But that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that his fan base is going to go, hey, look at all these others over here, and they're going to hopefully like them. And then that will increase my fan base. I think I have more of a possibility of getting an increase from John's than John's going to get from me, but we'll see. You never know. We are 25 minutes went flying by.
It did.
Tell everybody real quick how to find you online and where to find your books.
All right. You can find me online. Mostly I spend most of my social media time on Facebook and on Mayway, which is kind of like Facebook. When I get tired of some of Facebook's,
it's Facebook without getting thrown. Yeah, it's Facebook without getting thrown off because you posted a cat meme.
Yeah, pretty much. I do have an account on Twitter, but I'm not there much. I never have been there much. I don't find that short little, that's not me. Anyway, you can find me there. My website is stephanie-osborn.com. That's Osborn, Osborn, no E.
No E.
And everything that I've got right now is on Amazon and Barnes Noble. Everything is available in ebook. Most of what I've got, unless it's too short, is up in print also.
Okay. So. All right. Well, I having read a couple of Stephanie's books, I highly recommend you go and add her books to your library if you have not already. And I think it's been a while since I pestered you about a science question, so I got to get on the stick and come up with something for you to solve for me.
Okay.
Yeah, but you helped me out on a short story because I was trying to figure out how close a planet had to be to a blue star to have life form, and I think we after about 10 million formulas you threw at me, we finally came up with the answer, and everybody seems to think it worked. So
okay, good.
There you go. we worked it out.
That's kind of cutting edge stuff, and we really don't know for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we made it. We made it practical and plausible enough that everybody went, yeah, I could see that happening. So
good.
Yeah, that's all we try for when we're sci-fi writers is make you buy what we're selling. Stephanie, thank you for being on, and we're gonna have to get you on again, and hopefully the next 25 minutes don't go flying by like this one did.
Well, I enjoyed it very much, and thank you.
Well, You stay safe and keep dodging those hurricanes as they blow through, because I know you're out. You were close. The track kind of got close to where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. So every now and then, I mean, Katrina came right over us.
Mm-hmm.
The center came right over us, and it was still packing Cat 2 hurricane force winds when it came over us. We took house damage, we took car damage, so yeah.
Yeah, well,
it happens.
Yeah, stay safe out there, and we will have you on again soon, and hopefully we'll be talking about some more Empire and some more Division 1 books.
And hopefully by then we'll have teeth.
That would be nice. Teeth that stay put instead of falling out and everything, right? Yeah.
Yep.
My case, it was, let's not have a situation where I lose a pint of blood because something got nicked. And
yeah,
my dentist scared the crap out of me, because all of a sudden I hear him go, large suction stat, in a voice that sounded like he was screaming. And that's when I started getting nervous.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Whenever they go, oops, you kind of like...
He didn't even do oops. He just started yelling for suction. And I heard people running behind me, and I'm thinking, do I want to know what's going on?
I have a tendency to kind of come to in the middle of things and start trying to talk to the oral surgeon. Ouch.
No. Okay, kiddo. Thank you again for being on, and we will definitely catch you later. For those of you who actually watch us every week, thank you first. And secondly, we have a author who I have been eager to get on, Jeffrey Carver, who has been writing since almost as long as I've been alive and is still writing. And I'm going to ask him, how in the world do you keep writing books after 4 decades? I've done it less than 1, and I don't see me making it past the 2nd decade, and he's gone 4. So he will be on next week. So in the meantime, everybody have a great week. Keep reading and keep writing, and we will see you in the Superversive Spotlight.
This has been a Scribe's Journey with your host, Richard Palinelli, a Tuscany Bay Productions presentation.